Today, we're going to share the story of the legendary painter Vincent van Gogh. His brush danced with color, his inner struggles shaped his vision, and his masterpieces left a permanent mark on art history. But Van Gogh's life wasn't painted only in bright colors. It was filled with emotional turmoil, loneliness, and a constant sense of being misunderstood. So, let's dive into the most fascinating and important facts about his life together. Fact 1. Early life and introduction to art. Vincent van Gogh was born in March 1853 in the small village of Zundert in the Netherlands. His family was deeply rooted in religious values. His father was a pastor, and his mother had a strong interest in music and art. As a result, Vincent grew up surrounded by both faith and creativity. From a young age, he was a highly sensitive child with a rich inner world. He developed a deep love for the simple beauty of nature. He was fascinated by colorful flowers in gardens and the stars shining in the sky. This love for nature would later become a powerful influence on his artwork. Young Vincent first tried his hand at art by picking up a pencil and paper, drawing the landscapes he saw and the faces of people around him. But his path to becoming an artist wasn't smooth or easy. Following his father's wishes, he initially attended religious school and even tried to become a pastor himself. However, his heart belonged to art. Eventually, he abandoned his theological studies and began formal training in art schools, choosing to follow his passion despite the challenges. Fact 2. Unique style and color palette. Van Gogh's brush was no ordinary tool. He spoke through color. Every stroke was an emotion, every hue told a story. He didn't use dull or muted tones, but instead chose bright, vivid colors. Warm shades of yellow, amber, and golden light, deep blues and soft greens. His palette was a palette of emotion. Van Gogh's art felt like a mirror to a trembling heart. Each canvas radiated energy, where storm and silence coexisted at once. His brushstrokes were bold and dynamic, and the colors didn't blend in. They stood out in their own glowing world. He didn't simply paint landscapes and people. He painted inner worlds, feelings, pain, and longing. His color choices weren't just meant to please the eye, but to make the viewer feel his inner universe. Van Gogh's palette was like a symphony of life's shades, expressed brightly and sincerely. He wasn't just a painter, he was a magician of color. Fact 3. Starry Night and his most famous works. Van Gogh's Starry Night is one of the most iconic and mysterious pieces in the art world. In 1889, during a time filled with his own spiritual struggles, he was creating art at a psychiatric hospital in Saint-Rémy-de-Provence, France. This painting is a blend of the view from his hospital window and his imagination. Stormy stars, a swirling sky in motion, and a peaceful village below. Starry Night symbolizes Van Gogh's inner turmoil, hope, and excitement. But Starry Night is not his only famous work. Van Gogh created thousands of artworks: sunflowers, irises, the bedroom in Arles, and many more. Each tells a different story and reflects his life and emotions. These works open a door to Van Gogh's world full of color and feeling, each carrying its own light, life, and emotion. His paintings are not just pictures, but melodies coming from the soul's core. Van Gogh's artworks show both his deep sorrow and endless hope. You can feel life itself on every canvas. Fact 4. His struggle with mental health. Vincent van Gogh's life was not painted only with bright colors. Within his soul, silence and storm existed simultaneously. From a young age, he struggled with mental health issues. Depression, anxiety, and mysterious illnesses constantly surrounded his life. This inner struggle was reflected in his art. Sometimes his work showed calm and peace, while at other times his brushstrokes were full of anger and chaos. One of Van Gogh's most famous mental breakdowns occurred when he cut off part of his own ear. This incident was a sign of his deep psychological collapse. In the following years, he was hospitalized several times and underwent intensive treatments. Despite all this pain, Van Gogh never gave up on art. Every color he painted with his brush, every line he drew, was an expression of his fight with life and his fears. His struggle with mental health limited both his life and art. His works contain both pain and hope, darkness and light. Fact 5. Relationships and friends. One of the most important people in Vincent van Gogh's life was the painter Paul Gauguin. They were not only friends but also artistic companions who, for a time, lived together and expressed themselves through their art. This friendship was dynamic and sometimes tense. Paul Gauguin and Van Gogh had different personalities and artistic views. Van Gogh was emotional, while Gauguin was more rational and demanding. During their time living together in Arles, they tried to create an ideal environment for art. However, disagreements and personal difficulties strained their relationship. Eventually, Gauguin left the house, leaving Van Gogh even more isolated. Despite this, their friendship greatly influenced Van Gogh's art. Gauguin inspired him to experiment with colors and composition, and they enriched each other's creativity. Van Gogh had other friends and family, but his relationship with Gauguin remains one of the most significant bonds in his artistic journey. Fact 6. Work ethic and creative intensity. Vincent van Gogh's artistic career was short but incredibly productive. In about 10 years, he created over 2,100 artworks, including more than 860 paintings and over 1,300 sketches. This is a testament to his silent struggle and passion. Van Gogh dedicated himself to his art day and night, sometimes losing himself completely in his work. His brush never stopped. Each canvas carried new emotions and life. This intensity was closely linked to his mental state. Art was both a refuge and a means of self-expression for him. With every brushstroke, he transferred his inner pain, hopes, and thoughts onto the canvas. The works Van Gogh created are living proof of his hard work and creative energy. Leaving such a rich legacy in a short time is no easy feat. His story shows us that true genius requires not only great talent, but also relentless effort. Fact 7. Van Gogh's innovative approach to painting technique. One of the most striking aspects of Vincent van Gogh's art was his painting technique. He broke away from traditional methods to create a unique and innovative style. While most painters blended colors smoothly to create soft transitions, Van Gogh kept his colors thick and separate on the canvas. His brushstrokes were bold and sometimes even appeared textured, adding life and movement to his paintings. Each stroke seemed to tell its own story, energetic, emotional, and daring. By placing colors side by side, he emphasized contrasts and bright tones. This approach allowed viewers to experience every detail of the artwork as a distinct emotion. His technique is considered a revolutionary step in art history and has had a major influence on modern painting. With his colors and brushstrokes, Van Gogh seemed to write his inner world directly onto the canvas. Fact 8. Low sales and financial difficulties. Throughout his life, Van Gogh's artworks were hardly ever sold. He faced great financial hardships and struggled to promote his art to others. Even in the final years of his life, Van Gogh managed to sell only one painting, a fact that did not reflect his true value. He often lived with the support of friends, especially his brother Theo. These financial struggles discouraged him, but he never gave up on art. For Van Gogh, creating paintings was a reason to live. He poured his feelings and worldview onto the canvas. Ironically, after his death, his works became some of the most valuable and recognized pieces in the world. This proves how unfair life and art can sometimes be. True value is created over time and in the hearts of people. Financial difficulties never hindered his art. Fact 9. The death of Van Gogh. Vincent van Gogh's life ended at a very young age, only 37 years old. In July 1890, in the town of Auvers-sur-Oise, France, Van Gogh shot himself and was severely wounded. He was brought to the care of close friends and his brother Theo, but his condition was critical. 2 days later, on July 29th, he passed away. Van Gogh's death was a great loss to the art world, but his works continued to live on. Despite his dark life, he left behind a bright legacy. This tragic end is remembered as part of the great artist's difficult life struggle. His art, as a union of pain and beauty, continues to inspire people. Van Gogh's life and death remind us that great genius and deep suffering can exist within the same person. Fact 10. Van Gogh's impact on art in the world. Vincent van Gogh is one of the greatest revolutionaries in art history. His vibrant color palette and emotional brushstrokes became foundational pillars of post-impressionism. Van Gogh was not just a painter. He expressed his feelings, pain, and loving world through the canvas. This style deeply influenced future generations of artists, including Pablo Picasso, Henri Matisse, and many other great painters. His art is part of the most valuable collections in museums worldwide, inspiring millions of people every year. Van Gogh's life and work show us that art is both healing and a form of expression. His paintings are not just about beauty, they are a journey into the depths of the human soul. Even today, Van Gogh's works resonate as a living and eternal voice in the art world. He truly is an irreplaceable symbol of art and the human spirit. Vincent van Gogh, an artist who stood unshakably between madness and genius. His life story shows us that even the greatest hardships, pains, and inner storms can be transformed into creative energy. Every brushstroke, every choice of color, was a deep expression of feeling and emotion. Though he sometimes battled himself, he showed us that through art, the human spirit can truly be free. What do we learn from this great artist's life? Challenges don't defeat us. Instead, they inspire us to discover our uniqueness and strength. Even in life's darkest moments, the light of hope continues to burn, and creativity is a tool to make that light shine even brighter. What does Van Gogh's story mean to you? Share your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more videos that touch the soul of this priceless artist. Let's explore the power of art together and enrich our spirits.